Yeah. Now let's see a typical VBA editor for us. See, there are multiple ways in which we can get into the VBA editor. As we said, once I record a macro and I did a step into, a VBA editor window got opened. But a regular normal process for us is, generally we will get into this developer tab. In a normal Excel, you will not see the developer tab. When you are simply opening, so it will be like this. Let me come back. A regular Excel is more like this. You open any regular Excel file, you will not see the developer tab there. Actually, the developer tab contains all the things that are more associated with the macro process. Right, VBA and the macro part, some user interface forms and all those things, they are present as a part of that the developer tab. So how do I bring up that developer tab is I go to this Excel options. Here I will check. This is by default not checked. So I will check this show developer tab in the ribbon. It will show the developer tab. And if you get into this developer tab, these are all the things that are associated with the macro. As we have seen, this is what the macros, view macros and all that, which was there as a part of this view tab also. But the proper tab for us is the developer tab, where I can see macros, or when I click on Visual Basic, the actual macro editor window. This is the macro editor window. This is what will get opened up, right? And by default, because I have closed a few windows, I am just bringing them back. This is the typical structure of any of your macro window, right? The other way I open this macro window for us is from Excel, I press Alt F11. Alt F11. Again, the VBA editor only will get opened up. The VBA editor typically contains these many windows inside. It contains these many windows. Here we are seeing a project window. This is a project window. Project is nothing but every Excel file is a project. So let's say currently the Excel file which I have is cricket VBA original.xls. So that would be one project here. Right, if we see cricket VBA original.xls is a project, and all the sheets that are there in that Excel file, they are another elements of this VBA code. And you see personal.xlsb, which is that personal macro workbook, is also available here, right? And when you open it, probably you will not see all these things, because as a part of my other codes and all, they are all included as a part of the personal macro workbook. So that's where I see a lot of things. But when you open it, you will see only this cricket VBA original.xls and probably personal.xlsb, because we have written some macros as a part of personal.xlsb, personal macro workbook. It is available. Now, where is this? If I click on this personal macro workbook, in my case, I am seeing a lot of modules. All these modules are different codes. For different batches, I may have written so many code. So each code is written as a part of a module. Now our code probably is available. Yeah, our code is available as a part of macro 11, module 11. This is what our code was, right? So different things. So because I had so many modules, when I am opening that macros list, there are so many macros are being seen, because all these things are there as a part of my personal macro workbook, as a part of different module. Module is a place, it's like a piece of paper where you can write your code, right? So whether you want to write all the code in one single page itself, or you want to streamline it better. Okay, this particular application I write in one module. The next one I write in another module. So that is more like a streamlining. It's up to you. You put all the codes in one single module, or each code as a part of separate module. It's more for your understanding purpose. There is no problem with the working of Excel. Right? So any number of modules or any number of code be there as a part of a single module also. Module is just giving a structure. Okay, this thing I'll do as a new page. Just like answer all your questions on a fresh page. You can very well answer one below the other also. Or for one each of them you can open a new page and write. So that is what is a module all about. Module is a piece. See, you can write codes. If you see this particular cricket VBA.xls, you are not seeing a module for that. You are only seeing the sheet names and this workbook. Only this much. Because we did not write any piece of code exclusive to that sheet, exclusive to that file. We have whatever the recording we have done, it is on a personal macro workbook we have done. We did not do anything as this workbook. When I say this workbook, it will be a new module will be created under this workbook. Right? If I say a recording as a part of this workbook, then I'll get one more new module here, or I can create a module here directly itself. Now, even at these layers, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3 layers, I can write pieces of code. But if something is exclusive to sheet 1, when sheet 1 is opened, do something. Right? Or when I double click on sheet 1, do something. Then I will write the events as we talked about. The events when I double click on sheet 1, or when some value changes on sheet 1, do something. Those kind of codes I will write as a part of those sheets, which is exclusive to that sheet, not even to the file. Right? And if it is exclusive to the workbook, when I say exclusive to the workbook, again events. Workbook opened. When workbook is opened, do this. When workbook is modified, do this. Events. So anything related to the events, I'll write them as a part of these codes. I'll select that appropriate thing and write the code for that. But if it is a generic thing, file, within that file, multiple sheets, it's a method. Right? We remember the methods and events. So anything related to events is written as a part of those 5 sheets and workbook. There may be some events specific to sheets. As I said, sheet double clicked. Do something. Do something only on some trigger. Some value changed on the sheet. Right? In those cases, I will write as a part of those things. But if it is a method, I will write them as a part of the modules. I will create a new module and I will write something as a part of the module. So initially we will start with the module. Then wherever required, I will take the code into the sheet and I will show you how it impacts on the sheet. Fine. Okay, so now our first piece of code will start off. But yeah, before that we will understand, okay, this is a project editor, project window where any new Excel file you create and come here, that Excel file will be created. There is a project that is created to that Excel file. So in that project you will see all the sheets and the workbook by default. And if there are some already existing macros inside that, if it is a local macro, this workbook macro, you will see some modules also inside that. Right? Because we don't have any local macro now, we'll create one. Because we don't have any local macro right now, we are not seeing any kind of modules in that. We can add a module and we can create some local macro. And here there is a properties window. So for each of the things, the properties. So if I say sheet 1, just click on this. So the sheet 1, there are some properties. what is the name to this sheet 1. As we said, for object, there are some properties to the object. So the name is sheet 1. Now let's say I change this name. Sheet 1, I change it to country, something. You see in your Excel sheet also, it would be changed. The name of the sheet, change it to country. Because it's an identifier. The identifier earlier was sheet 1. Now I am making that as country. So the properties window is more like that. So some of the things that are exclusive to each of the things, the name, something is enabled or disabled, all these things I'll put as a part of, so display in a page breaks. No, right now there are no page breaks that are displayed for that sheet. So these are some of the properties. Any auto filters are there? No. So this is what is the typical property of that sheet 1, right? So similarly for sheet 2, sheet 3, you will have some of the stuff. Okay, the standard width is, let's say, 8.38. Now I'll change it to, let's say, 20, right? You see the width of the columns I changed to a bigger one. It's not that same. The standard width here has changed, right? You see the width of the column. See, okay, here you observe L and M. Again, I'll change it back. The standard width, because these cannot be, because these we have already made them non-standard by increasing or decreasing. Wherever we did not do the increasing or decreasing, the default width, I can change it there. But sheet 2 will not be like that. Sheet 2 will still be like original. Sheet 3 will still be like original. But sheet 1 is changing. The reason being, we have changed the property of sheet 1. Only the sheet 1. So here all such kind of properties can very well be changed. And probably here, visible. Yeah, it is showing sheet is visible. Now let's say I want to make it sheet is hidden. Okay. Okay, some of the properties, let's say, okay, it has already got hidden. Sorry. It has already got hidden. Right. So whenever you are making it hidden, so all these sheets are already hidden. Right. You are changing it to hidden. All these properties are directly getting hidden itself. So like that, whatever the task you are doing, just changing the property of that, it can impact here itself directly. The sheet 1 hidden. So because it is hidden, it's not available here. So all those things can very well be done. So here also you see it is very much hidden. So again just make it visible. You will see sheet 4 again back. So you can very well control it through this. So the properties are more like features of that sheet. So you can modify them. You can do all kinds of things on those kind of sheets. So that is what will can be handled from the code layer. So these are the properties. And this is where the actual code is written. And of course, if I have to observe some of the results or something, I'll have a watch window. If I want to see, okay, how is this value changing? If I have some value which changes at different stages for different, we'll see once we create some variables in the data, we'll see how the variable is changing over the period. So for that we'll use the watch window. Just keep this on hold. We'll come back and look at this. So this is our major area where the code is typically written, right? And this code we can run through the debug window, doing a debugging, right? So before we run it fully, if we run it through the debugging mode, we'll know whether this line line of code is important or is it redundant. So which means if there is something wrong we have done and we want to correct that part, it's better if I run it in a debug window so that it will see where exactly it is going wrong. At least I delete that part or I hide that part of the code so that I'll see that is the remaining thing at least getting executed. Getting it? Okay, so now with this as the input, we'll start writing our first basic code, right? Where a simple hello program through the code itself, and slowly we'll link it to the Excel, and slowly we'll try to put that logic stuff. As I said, if the value is greater than 10 lakhs or 1 lakh, do this sort, otherwise do this sort. So that's how we'll keep complexing our business logic and try to write these kind of codes in Excel, right? So that's where we'll